Hi, my name is Lily and welcome back to my channel and welcome to my top 20 books of 2021. So I read over 100 books in 2021, so I thought I would do a top 20 again. I did top 20 of 2020 because it was 2020 and I see a lot of people doing top 10s this year, but I felt it was really hard just to pick a top 10, so I decided to do a top 20 instead. So I have ranked them, so technically I could have done a top 10, but I would say the exact positioning is not really set in stone. I would say whether they're in like the bottom third, middle third, top third is pretty accurate, and like I would say my top 5 is pretty accurate of the best 5 books, but most of the books I feel like could move a few spots within like the 5 surrounding them, so I wouldn't take it too seriously if I have like one at 7 and one at 8 and you think the one I put at 8 was better than the one at 7. Honestly, on a different day I might have ranked them differently. So yeah, that's just a little bit of background there. I'm gonna get straight into it and I'm gonna go from 20 all the way up to number 1. So coming in at number 20 is Show Us Who You Are by Elle Macnicol. This is a middle grade, it's a light sci-fi, more of a contemporary. It is about a young girl named Addie. I think her name is Addie. No, Addie's the other one. This is about Cora. So this is about Cora and Adrian. Cora is autistic and Adrian has ADHD. They are about 12 years old and they become friends through a party that her older brother takes her to. So her older brother works for this company called Pomegranate, and Adrian's mother and father work at Pomegranate, I believe. So that's where they meet, is at this party at Adrian's house, and they become quick friends. And it is about how Pomegranate has this new technology that helps to bring your loved ones back and to allow you to meet celebrities through holograms, and they ask Cora if they can interview her so that they can get a more accurate depiction of different neurotypical and neurodiverse brains and how they're different. And it's about how there's something a bit more sinister going on and she feels as though she can't truly trust Pomegranate and something else is going on, and it is very, very good. It's got a really good message. The villain in it is such a great villain because it's the kind of person where I feel like if you read this from a different perspective you wouldn't realise she was the villain, but she really is. And yeah, I think it's really, really great, and it's a really good middle grade to help teach children that like differences are okay. So yeah, I highly recommend it to anyone who's interested. At number 19 I have Down Among the Sticks and Bones by Shauna Maguire. This is the second book in the Every Heart a Doorway series. I don't know if you can hear that, but my laptop sounds like it's about to take off, but we're just going to ignore that. So this is the second book in the Every Heart a Doorway series. These are a series of like really short novella style books, and each one is its kind of own self-contained story, but it helps to read the first book so that you have a background for the world that this is in. So essentially this is about children who have found these doors to other worlds, and these worlds typically are their perfect worlds, and then all these children come back. And there are 2 schools that these children are going to be sent to, and the school that this book series focuses on is a school where all of the children wish they could go back and want to go back and are hoping that one day their door reappears. There is another school that is mentioned but we don't see in this series so far, that is a school of children who do not want to go back and want to forget their experiences. So this is the second book. It's about the twins Jack and Jill trying to get back to their perfect world, and yeah, I'm not going to tell you too much because it will be spoilers, but it is a really interesting series. It's definitely a bit of a Marmite series. I know people who loved it and people who hated it. I adored it. The worlds all have these different variations where they can be like high logic, or I can't remember what they call it, but what is high logic or low logic and stuff like that, and I just loved that idea of those different worlds that exist in different kinds of realities, and this one is definitely my favourite from the series so far. I have read all of the ones that are released and this is my favourite. Coming in at number 18 we have Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. This is another middle grade and it is a fantasy. It's kind of an urban fantasy, but it is set at a magic school. This is about Amari, whose older brother, who is an adult, has gone missing, and one day she finds a gift from him that says that he has nominated her to become a candidate for the Department of Supernatural Investigations, which is essentially this secretive organisation that acts as an in-between for what the humans see in the world and all of the mythical magical creatures in this world. And it's kind of like, I would say it's similar to like Harry Potter crossed with Men in Black, in that it has the Men in Black idea of these creatures all living in the world like the aliens and Men in Black are, but they are disguised. And then it also has the like magic school setting you get in books like Harry Potter. And this is genuinely a series that I feel like could become something like Harry Potter, where if it gets invested in enough, you could create a whole franchise out of this series, because the setting is absolutely incredible. And it's about Amari going to this magic school to sort of, she wants to become like, I can't remember what they call it because I read this so long ago, but basically like a magical detective, so that she can try and find out what happened to her brother and his partner who went missing while investigating this like dark wizard. And yeah, it is incredible. I really enjoyed it. It didn't get a full 5-star rating from me because there's definitely stuff that could have been improved on this, but I feel like as the books goes on, his writing will improve, and I just really got invested in this world and this story, much more than I was expecting to. I was fully expecting it to be overhyped, but it wasn't. So yeah, this is a very solidly well-deserving one on the top 20. Coming in at number 17 is The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas, and honestly the day I ranked these I put this above Amari and the Night Brothers, but today I kind of feel like I should have swapped them, but I'm going to leave it because, as I said, day to day these rankings change. And this is an adult romance with some spice but not loads of spice. It is about Catalina and what is his name? Aaron. Catalina and Aaron. So they work together at this tech company or engineering company, I believe, and basically Catalina has been working there for a really long time, and Aaron started working there maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, and when he joined, Catalina tried to be friends with him, he acted a bit weird, and now they've got this like rivalry. They don't really talk and Catalina doesn't like him. But Catalina's sister is getting married back in Spain, and she has told her family that she's going to be bringing a boyfriend because she doesn't want to look pathetic, because her ex, who she had this massive breakup with that kind of led to her leaving to live in America, is now engaged. So she's told them she's bringing a long-term boyfriend to try and make herself look better, but she doesn't have one. And Aaron ends up agreeing to go to the wedding with her and pretend to be her boyfriend so that she looks better, and it is about the slow burn romance that evolves from the fake dating situation. So again, this is another 4-star rather than 5-star, but it still is really good and I really did enjoy it. I would say the main drawback of this one is that the dialogue is really awkward. They kind of start doing Shakespearean declarations of love in the middle of spicy scenes, which just sounds really weird, and the way they talk to each other outside of it is not great. And also the pacing is slow, like it takes ages for them to get to Spain, but the slow burn romance is so worth it. I feel like the romance is really well written. I really believed it. I really felt the chemistry between them, and I just loved how Aaron was always trying to take care of Catalina in lots of little ways. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. At number 16 we have The Adventure Zone graphic novel. This is by the McElroy family and Carrie Peach is the illustrator. This is the fourth book in the series, and it is the graphic novel adaptations of the McElroy brothers and their father playing Dungeons and Dragons together. Usually Adventure Zone ranks higher on my rankings, but this is not my favourite one of the 4, which is why it's a little bit lower, but I still loved it because I just love this series. And basically like it's just them playing D&D, and they don't really know what they're doing. They're kind of new to it, especially the dad, and it is just so funny. They break the fourth wall a lot, the stories are really creative, and yeah, it still feels like you're watching a D&D game whilst also still feeling like you're reading a genuine fantasy series. I highly recommend it. I don't listen to the podcast that this is adapted from, so you don't need to listen to the podcast to be able to read the books. So if that's something you're worried about, you don't need to be worried. I just would recommend you read these, they're great. At number 15 I have The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. So this is an adult romance. It's also a Rey Kylo Ren fanfiction originally, but it's now a published book. Sorry, my cat is just come in. Olive is a PhD student and Adam is a professor there, and basically Olive has this ex who her best friend is having a crush on, but she won't date him because of the girl code. So Olive wants to try and convince her that she has a boyfriend so that her best friend knows that she's able to date this guy, because Olive was never serious about him. So she randomly grabs someone and kisses them when she sees her friend, and that person happens to be Adam. And Adam is this guy who everyone in the department kind of hates him. He's kind of got this reputation for being a bit of an arsehole, and so Olive is kind of regretting her decision, but then he says that he would agree to fake date her because it would benefit him as well. So it's another slow burn romance with fake dating, which is one of my favourite tropes. So yeah, I absolutely adored this one. This is so good. It just didn't reach higher ranking for me because I had a lot of more thoughtful books that I think reach higher rankings, but I think this is probably one of the highest ranking romances I read this year. So it was really good, and I did really enjoy it. It's one that's a new comfort read for me, so it's definitely one that I still think is great. And yeah, I really loved it. At number 14 we have Aurora's End by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. This is the third book and final book in the Aurora Cycle trilogy. This is about a ragtag squad who have basically been tasked with saving the world and bringing down an alien race. So it is really good. I don't really know how much to explain without giving any spoilers because it's been a while since I read the first book, but it's a space opera series and it's really funny, quite a diverse cast, and I just really enjoyed reading it, and it has so many twists I wasn't expecting, and I really like how this duo writes, and yeah, I really enjoyed this one, and I would recommend this series if you do like a space opera style sci-fi. At number 13 I have Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata. This is a book about a young autistic woman who is kind of being pressured to find a proper career and a husband and all of that kind of stuff, but she's actually just quite happy working in her convenience store job because she likes the routine and she just really thrives on it. And it's kind of this exploration of societal expectations and just what it means to fit in and what it means to be happy, and I really liked it. It's one of those books that I wish people read knowing that the character was autistic more, because a lot of people say it's really funny, really quirky. Like, he even says this on the cover, like exhilaratingly weird and funny, you know, hilarious, I couldn't put it down, irresistibly quirky. But I don't think it should be called that, because if you're laughing at this character I feel as though you're laughing at autism. Because as an autistic person I wasn't reading this thinking, oh this is so funny, I was reading this as like, oh this is relatable, and it's kind of sad. So yeah, but I think it is a really incredible book, and if you can go into it with that context it becomes so much better. So yeah, I love this book. I feel like I need to reread it because Sayaka Murata's writing I just find incredibly insightful. At number 12 we have Where the Crawdad Sings by Delia Owens, which has been very popular on all of the bookish platforms this year, and I feel like everyone and their mum has read this. It's about a girl named Kaya who is known as the Marsh Girl. It follows two different plot lines, or not plot lines, two different times. The initial focus is on her childhood, how she grew up, and then there's also a plot line about when she's in her 20s, I believe, when a man is found dead in the marshes and she is accused of having killed him. And it kind of tells a story of neglect and abandonment, and how Kaya is kind of abandoned by everyone and forced to raise herself from a very young age, and how she dealt with that and how she did form bonds with other people. It's about people falling in love with her, and it just is such a wonderful story, and it's so captivating in that it's very sad but also kind of uplifting in the way that she survives and she sticks to the life that she is happy with and the life she is proud of. And I just was gripped throughout this whole book, and I can totally understand why everyone loves it so much because it is just so well written. Number 11 is The Winter Garden by Alexandra Bell. This is I'd say later young adult slash new adult fantasy. It's the kind of fantasy book where I would say the themes are kind of more adult, but if you have a mature teen then they would be able to read this and it would be absolutely fine. This is about a magical garden called the Winter Garden that appears to our initial main character Beatrice when she's a child on the day her mother dies. It appears every night for a week and then disappears. She basically spends the rest of her life wishing she could find this garden again. When she's an adult, she has a friend called, what's her friend's name? I want to say it's Rosie, but I don't. Rosa. She has a friend named Rosa who is an American immigrant to the UK. Basically, Beatrice is meant to marry this duke. He is basically the next best thing to marrying a prince. It's very prestigious, but Beatrice really just doesn't love him. She doesn't want a relationship. She doesn't want anything. She just wants to be by herself and explore the world to look for the Winter Garden. So on the day of her wedding, she calls it off. And she decides to, it's a bit taboo because it's Victorian England, but she decides to travel the world and look for the Winter Garden instead. And then after that engagement is broken off, Rosa, who has come from new money and wants to marry old money, is trying to woo Beatrice's ex-husband or ex-fiance, which Beatrice is fine with, and she ends up courting him, marrying him, but things are not what she expected after their marriage. And it is about these two women who both get invited to compete to win a wish from the Winter Garden. They have to create their own gardens that are magical, and whichever one has the most magical element wins the competition to win a wish from the Winter Garden. It's quite a dark book. Like, it doesn't sound like it's going to be as dark as it is, but there's a lot of dark themes, especially in Rosa's storyline of domestic violence, and then in Beatrice's storyline of depression. But I think it's a really interesting look at womanhood and independence, and it's a very feminist fantasy book, and it also, I would say, has our ace rep in Beatrice. I was captivated by it. I really enjoyed it. There isn't a lot of plot to this book, but it is such an interesting, captivating read. So we finally reached the top 10, and I'm really excited because these are all books I'm very passionate about. Coming in at number 10, we have another one from Sayaka Murata, which is Earthlings, and this one I don't know how to describe. It is a horror, I guess, but it's not like a Stephen King horror or a slasher horror. It just has some very taboo topics in it. It's, I would say it's kind of similar in vibe at times to My Dark Vanessa, where it just makes you very uncomfortable, but it's not quite as graphic in the sense that My Dark Vanessa is on that side of things. And it's about a woman and a man who are married, and the woman kind of believes that her hedgehog Teddy is an alien, and that her cousin might also be an alien. It's so hard to explain because it's very bizarre. You don't really understand most of what happens in this book. It's a bit of a trip, but it is just such an incredible read, and I can't recommend it enough if you're able to read it. If you have any major triggers, I would say look up the trigger warnings, but if you do know someone who's read it, it could be worth asking them if there's any triggers in it that you might struggle with, because the list of trigger warnings on like booktriggerwarnings.com do kind of give mild spoilers for this book, in the sense that like it's a horror, so a lot of the plot twist will involve triggers. So if you don't have triggers, then go read it, just be aware it's very dark. If you do have triggers, try and find out if they're in the book. If you need to look up the full list, that's totally understandable. But yeah, if you can avoid looking at the full list, I would recommend it, because the full list is definitely spoilery, but such an incredible read. I think more people should read it. Book number 9 on my list is Always Only You by Chloe Leese, and if you haven't heard me rave about Chloe Leese books yet, then you must be new here. This is an adult romance, and it's a sports romance. It's also got an autistic main character who also uses a cane, but I can't remember what her disability is for that. And basically it is a little bit of it's a grumpy sunshine, slight enemies to lovers romance with forced proximity. So we have Frankie, who is our female main character. She is like the social media marketing person for this hockey team, and then you have Ren, who is the big burly hockey player, and I can't remember why, but she ends up having to stay with him for a while in his house, and it is a slow burn romance between the two of them. And like Frankie feels like she's not lovable and that she won't get a relationship because of her disabilities, and Ren is a simp. So it is so good. It's Chloe Leese is amazing at slow burn, and it's a little bit spicy, and yeah, I really love this series. This is my second favourite in the series, as you will find out later in this ranking. At number 8 we have Daisy Jones and the Six, which is another historical kind of book set in the 70s. This is about the band The Six, who meet Daisy Jones, a singer, and basically this is a story of how they rose to fame and then how it all ended right when they're at their peak, and it's told through interviews with different band members. It's amazing. I couldn't stop listening. I've heard the audiobook is also really good because it's apparently a full cast audiobook. But yeah, it is just so incredible. I can't really tell you much else without spoiling it, but I found the interactions really interesting and all the different voices felt very distinct, so yeah, couldn't recommend more. At number 7 we have another Chloe Leese book, and that is The Mistletoe Motive. This is her holiday novella, but honestly, like, read it any time of the year because it's great. I can't remember the names of the characters, but it is another autistic main character who's a woman, and then the male main character has type 1 diabetes, and this is about them being the co-managers of a bookstore. The female main character is like the life and soul of the bookstore, and the male main character is the one that is doing the numbers and all the other admin stuff to keep the bookstore running. And basically they've been told that if sales don't start picking up, one of them might be cut in the new year, and so they start this competition to see who can sell more books, to see who should stay. And it is an enemies to lovers slow burn romance once again from Chloe Leese, and it is just, oh, it's so good. I just love the way that the male main character looks out for the female main character, and the way their slow burn develops is just, if you haven't read Chloe Lee's book yet, where have you been? At number 6 we have The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune, which is another super popular one. This is an adult fantasy, but it's one that can be read by most ages and is really accessible. It's kind of, it is very whimsical in the way it's written. This one is about Linus Baker, who works for this department that looks after all of these children's homes, and it's homes for magical children, and basically he is an inspector that decides whether they should stay open or closed, and he is one of their top performers, so he is sent to the House in the Cerulean Sea to inspect this very secretive children's home where like the most troubling cases are sent. And he is kind of scared, he's not sure what to expect. He's heard one of the people there is the son of Satan. And it's about him going to this island where these children are living and learning not to judge people by the way they look and to give people a chance and building bonds with them, and it is just so pure, so wholesome, such a good palate cleanser if you've been reading a lot of dark fantasy, and my heart could not take it. It is just such a beautiful book. We are now reaching the top 5, and these are definitely the books that I've been recommending a lot this year. At number 5 we have Lovely War by Julie Berry. This is a historical fiction plus a romance, and it's basically looking at how love and war intermingle. It follows 4 young people who are involved in World War I, 2 couples basically, but they are all interlinked in different ways. It's told from the perspective of Aphrodite and other Greek gods, because it's kind of that they're telling stories to prove that love is good or something. I can't remember. It doesn't really matter too much because them being the ones telling the story doesn't really make a difference. The love story itself is the part you're there for, and it is just so beautifully written. You have Hazel, who is a pianist from London who decides to volunteer with, I think it's the Red Cross, so that she can like bring joy to the men over in the war. You have James, who wants to be an architect, but he is drafted into the war. You have Aubrey, who is a Black American soldier who is part of the like band, I can't remember what they call them, but it's the band that goes around and plays for everyone to bring up their spirits, and he is an amazing pianist as well. And then you have Colette, who is an orphan from Belgium who has a very tragic past, and it is just So sad, so beautiful, so wonderful, and I just can't recommend it highly enough. At number 4 we have The Girls I've Been by Tess Sharp. This is one of my favourites, absolutely. It's a young adult thriller. It's being adapted into a movie with Millie Bobby Brown as the main character, so it's just going to be amazing. It tells the story of Nora. She was raised by a con artist mother who every year or so would choose a different man to target and to try and swindle out of his money, and so every time they chose a new man, Nora had to take on a new name and a new identity and a new personality. So she's become very used to being this chameleon character. So you get flashbacks to her past, living all of these different lives. You also have the present day story where she and 2 of her friends, her ex-boyfriend and her current girlfriend, are caught in a bank heist, and she has to try and get them out of the bank heist using her skills. So it is incredible. Could not put it down. I read it in one day. It is just, oh, it's so good. Like it is a book to cure book hangovers. It is a book to get out of a slump. It is just such a good YA thriller. At number 3 we have Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. This is about a lone astronaut who is stuck in deep space, and he knows he's been sent out there because he needs to save Earth, but he can't remember what he's supposed to be doing. His cabin mates, can't remember what they're called, crewmates, they're all dead, and he has to try and figure out what's going on, what he needs to do, and how he can save Earth. And there's not much I can tell you without spoilers, because everything unravels as his memory comes back to him, and it is just so good. It's so funny, so original. It's similar to The Martian in that it feels very realistic and very well researched, but I would say it's a completely different vibe to The Martian. It's not a carbon copy. The character's very different, and yeah, I can't say any more without spoiling it, but if you haven't read it yet, you need to read it, and I do actually really hope they adapt this one too. Number 1 and 2 I found really hard to rank, but I had to stick with my guns with this one, so number 2 might be a bit of a shocker that it's not number 1, and that is Red, White and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I read this back in January 2021 and I adored it. And I've been wanting to reread it since, but I've been holding off. I don't know why. I might reread it soon because I just love this book so much, and I thought it was going to be number 1 for a really long time, but one book did come out there and beat it ever so slightly. And this one is about the son of the President of the United States and a Prince of England who are forced to fake friendship after there are rumours going around that they're enemies, and through their fake friendship they start to fall in love. So it's so pure, so funny, so wholesome. It's not super spicy, so if you're not one for spicy romances, this is a good one. And yeah, I just loved it. The banter was amazing, and I just so good. So coming in at number 1, I feel like some of my friends will be expecting this one. It was the year of romances, and it was the year of spicy romances, so of course number 1 is With You Forever by Chloe Leese. This is the 4th book in the Bergman Brothers series, my absolute favourite one so far, and I don't think she'll ever be able to top it because honestly this is so good. And this one is, I can't remember their names. Well, I remember, I think it's Axel as the man, but I can't remember the name of the woman right now. But basically the female main character has something along the lines of like Crohn's disease, something similar to that, some kind of digestive tract disease. I can't remember which one it is. And she's having a really bad flare-up, so she's had to take a leave of absence from her university course, her law degree. And her best friend, who is Willa from the first book in the series, offers to let her stay in the Bergman family cabin for a little while as a break, and promises her that no one else is supposed to be there. But Axel is supposed to be there, and he is there. And basically Axel is there because the cabin is like low-key falling apart, and he's trying to find a way to finance the repairs. And he doesn't want anyone else to know about it because the repairs are going to be really expensive. He wants to pay for it himself because he's the one who has some money to do it. But the money he wants to use is an inheritance from an old family member. But the rule for getting the inheritance is that he has to be married, and he isn't married. So when our main character shows up, he kind of tells her the situation, tells her she can't stay in the cabin, so he offers to let her stay in his house, which she does. And she finds out about this whole like marriage plot and agrees to fake marry him. And yeah, things blossom. was so good. Like, oh, hot lumberjack. The male is the autistic this time, and it was great. He was amazing. He was dreamy, honestly. He was an artist and he was also a lumberjack, and just cabin in the woods romances always get me. They're my favourite. And this one is just really emotional because both of them are kind of under the impression that they're unlovable, and they prove each other wrong, and it's just so wholesome, so sweet. It is a bit spicy, and yeah, I just love this book so much. So yeah, that is my top book of 2021, and those are my top 20. I found it quite easy to pick my 20, but ranking them within the 20, like I said, was really difficult, so don't take it to heart too much if some of them aren't quite where you would put them in my top 20. But yeah, I'm really loving these books, and I can't wait to read more amazing books in 2022. So let me know in the comments below your top books of 2021, and if you liked any of the books that I spoke about, and yeah, let me know if you'd recommend me anything as well based on these books. So thank you again for watching. If you like this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing to see more content from me. If you want to leave me a comment to let me know you're here, leave me a little like celebratory emoji in the comment below, you know, like the one that's like the party popper or something, I don't know. But yeah, all of my social media links are in the description, and that is it, I think. So thank you again for watching. Bye.